Hello, this is Lincoln Easley here, and I'm doing my final review on Sonora Desert Institute. And I went for the certificate program. I just got my grades in. My grade point average is a 3.93 grade point average. So I did exceptionally well. This is one of the hardest things I ever went to. To describe what this school is like, it's like going through medical school. That's the best way I can describe it. It's like going through medical school of firearms. And if anybody is going to take this course, I would heavily recommend that you go through and take some kind of course outside of this school and get yourself introduced to it if you know nothing about firearms, if you're brand new into this. I've been around firearms since I was 4 years old. I had heavy exposure for years of my life, so I had a pretty good base idea of what I was getting into. You're learning terminology that is very tricky and very hard to understand for some people. Even myself being in this for years, I had to look things up on this terminology to find out what they meant, and not a bunch of things, but some things. And for somebody who's brand new, would have a really hard time going through this. So this is what helped me learning to go through this school. You're going to be doing tests and quizzes every week in this school, and these tests and quizzes are very technical. They're very tricky, and they are very good about tricking you around the corners, is what I would have to describe it as, because you're having a hard time taking these. I'm not going to tell you what's on the tests, but I'm going to tell you there are about 10 to 20 questions every week. Your midterm will be about 25 to 50 questions, and your final will be about 100 questions, and they're multiple choice. It is open book, and you have about 1 week to get through the exam. You're going to have your class discussions, and then you're going to have other assignments you're going to have to do. And that's pretty much what you're doing week by week. Some assignments are written. Some assignments are, you have to do some kind of video, slideshow, depending on what the instructor wants. And all the instructors are different. Some are more lenient than others. Some are more critical than others. Some are very big in the vocabulary and having everything perfect to the T. And I've only had that happen a few times, but overall the instructors are pretty good in the class, and I think they did overall pretty decent job. And I'm going to go through and talk about all the classes I went through. I'm going to name off all the classes, and the first one is the Introduction to Firearms, and it's FTT 100. And this class is, as it says it is, you are being introduced to firearms. You're going to be going through and you'll learn how to work on firearms. You'll learn how they operate, what makes them tick. You learn all the components inside them. You learn about all different types of firearms. You learn about the history of firearms. You're learning about how they operate, trajectory, velocity. You're learning about all these things about what makes them tick. I do think it would have been nice if they had a second course on black powder on this. That's my opinion. I wish they would have mentioned more on black powder, and they didn't really mention anything about black powder and firearms. So that would have been nice to learn that as an additional part of the class. They didn't really touch a whole lot on that. We do go through, and you get to, as your final assignment, you get to clean a firearm at the end of the day of your choice, which was nice. So I do like this class a lot. I did very well in this class. The other class is BBS 100, and this is basic ballistics. And in this class is, as it is, it's a very tricky class. It's a lot of book work, and it's pretty much about the projectile itself. You're learning about all the proper terminology, reloading, how it works, the mechanics of it, how it works, all different types of bullets. So you become an expert in ballistics. I believe the instructor that taught this course actually worked with the FBI, and he knew ballistics inside and out. I mean, I was really impressed when I was talking to him on how he explained the stuff that he was teaching and what he was teaching. And I believe, I don't know for sure, but I believe that he also worked with crime scenes. So it was a lot of fun learning about this stuff. One thing I would say that I wish they would have done differently in this class is I wish they would taught black powder ballistics, which would have been nice to learn for those that are black powder. And the other thing that I thought would be kind of nice, because there's no lab, no nothing in this class, I think it would have been really awesome if they said, because there's presses that are like $50 that they could send, and I'd be even happy to pay for something like that for this class. And I know they don't want you to make a round because it's liability and they don't want anything to happen, but it would be nice if we made like a dummy round and get all the proper measurements on that. And I think that would have been really cool for this class if we made a dummy round for this class. And that would have been a really good way to be introduced to reloading, because I make dummy rounds all the time and I usually use them with my damaged shell cases. I know the shell cases aren't going to work very well, so a lot of times I use those for dummy rounds for my handguns or my rifles, so that way I can make sure things are cycling properly. So the next class I would like to bring up is the gunsmithing tool lab. So the gunsmithing tool lab is a really good class. You're going through and you're going through all your tool labs. You're going through everything. You're learning what tools you're working with. I scored an A in this class. This class is FTT 111. And I had a really good time in this class. It was a lot of fun. At the end of the day, you actually had to go through and take a field strip a firearm, and then you had to put it back together and show a whole thing on that, which I had a lot of really good time on that, and it was a lot of fun, and I would so like to do that again. So if I were to say we were going to learn more on this class, I would have liked to have gone more in depth and taken apart different firearms. I would have liked it if we would have gone more into it, but otherwise I have no complaints. I mean, I learned a lot in this class. This class is really good to learn. It's really hard to teach a broad subject when you have hundreds of thousands of firearms to go through and you can only pick one to go through for the amount of time. So I do understand that. I kind of wish we could have done more of it, because I think that would have been a lot of fun to be able to do a lot more of it and get more into it. And I think that would have been a little bit more fun to experience. The next one I want to go to is FTT 114, the Caltex lab. And this is a holster making class. And I made a really cool holster out of this class. I also laser engraved it. And this class, I would say, out of all of them, I probably enjoyed the most. And I can even see myself continue making these and going through and selling these. And I think I can do really well in this. The instructor I had was really awesome because he gives you really good feedback. And I definitely would thank him for that. So after I built it the first time, he went and looked at it and said, okay, this looks good, this looks good. After I sent him pictures, and he said, you need to change this, this, and this. So I went back, made those changes, came back, and he was like, dead on, that is awesome, that looks really good. And after him explain it to me and explain why it was, because he actually would talk to you on the phone and explain it to you, I was really fond of the fact that I actually got to talk to a person that actually explained it to you instead of just writing it to me, which was really nice to have. So I really enjoyed this class. This class was a lot of fun. You do have the opportunity to think outside the box and be very creative in what you want to do. So I had a really good time. If I were to say anything about this class I did not like, and this was the little toolkit they send you to go and do the punch and everything, I did not like that very much. That thing was not fun to mess with. I didn't like it. That's the only complaint I have on this class, but everything else was awesome. I really enjoyed it. And the next class I would like to go over is FTT 201, and it's firearm finishing and engraving. So this class is a fun class. We did get to do a hydrographics project, and you can do anything you want, which is nice. And I did this, and I had a really good time doing the hydrographics project. It was a lot of fun. The only thing I wish we did more of, because we did study different finishes and different stuff, because I do gold plating, I do laser engraving, I do a lot of different stuff. I would have liked it if they would have sent like a block of aluminum and sent like a little carving and had you do engravings on the block of aluminum. I think that would have been really good for this class to be able to do that, just with hand tools, learning how to do hand engraving, because I would have enjoyed that. I would have loved to do that. In fact, I would have even probably bought the tools to do this just for the fun of it. And this class, I learned a lot about finishes. You learn about every kind of finishes, how they do the finishes, and somebody can really, on finishes alone, they could like literally go to school on just this one class and learn an entire field in this one class. I mean, that's how big this one class can be. So I had a really good time in this, but that's the only thing I would see that they should have done differently in this class. Now, the next class I like to go over is Sights, Optics, and Accuracy. And this is FTT 221. And they do send you a scope. They send you a device for doing the floating on the scope rings, which was pretty awesome to do. I mean, it allows your scope to be far more accurate, and it's a very tedious job. I felt that this class had a little too much writing in the class because, yes, it's great to be able to lap the stock of the rifle for it, but unless I'm actually doing it, I'm not really learning it. So I mean, it would be nice if they had like a sample piece for us to go and float and do, like a small sample piece that they could have had made or brought to us. Or another option is if they could have set a bore sight or how to get a bore sight, because only like $10-15, and put it into our rifles and then be able to sight in our scopes and actually go more into sighting our scopes. I would say scopes are my weakest part in doing a lot of this, and I would have liked to learn more about the scopes. And I kind of feel like he didn't touch a whole lot of the scopes, and that would have been nice to learn a lot more. But you do go through accuracy, you go through parallax, you touch on that stuff. But I would have liked to have gone more into it. But otherwise, it was a class I did get a lot out of. And the next class I'd like to talk about is machining and manufacturing firearms. This class is intellectually has a lot of information. You learn about a lot of tools, you learn about the machines, but the big downfall of this class is, and I'm not saying anything bad about this class, but you can't learn machining out of a book. And any machinist will tell you that. I worked in a machine shop for 6 months, and there's a lot more in the machine shop than you can learn from the book. It's great to have the books as a reference to go through, but it feels like this class teaches you straight out of a book. It would have been nice if we would have had like some kind of tool assignment or something to go with this assignment where we could have filed and worked on a block of aluminum or made it into something and then turn it as a final project. But this is FTT 231 and this class, and so it's an okay class, but that's a lot of money to spend, because you spend like $1,400 for this class, and that's a lot of money for me to spend to learn machining out of a book. And I would rather actually gone through it. And I know that the school can't just send you machine stuff to work with and send you machines because they're in the thousands of dollars, but it would have been nice if they had like some kind of assignment that you could have worked on to do this. The next class that I was going through was the FTT 240, and it's a sporting rifles and management. So pretty much this class is about going over and starting your own business, starting your own store, getting yourself going. This is a very good class for getting into the school, learning about it, going from the school to starting your own FFL, getting your own business going, and they walk you through a lot of that stuff. The only thing is I wish there was another class I could have taken other than this, because I was pretty much already pretty familiar with this, even though I don't have that kind of business. I do run my own business, and I've been doing it for 10 years, so I'm very familiar with a lot of the stuff they were talking about and what they were saying, because I had to research this stuff, and me being hard-headed, I have to know what I can and cannot do in the line of work so I can keep myself out of trouble. But otherwise, this is a really good class. I mean, especially if somebody's trying to start their own store, I'd highly recommend this class, because this class can give you the foundation to get yourself started and keep yourself out of trouble, because starting a firearms business is one of the hardest things to get into, especially in states that are not as lenient in trying to get yourself approved. And the last class I like to go through is FTE 217. It's the modern sporting rifle. This was the one class that everybody cannot wait to take. And this one, they send you either an AR-9, an AR-10, or an AR-15, and you have all the parts, all the pieces, and you have to build it yourself. When I took this class, I thought I was going to have a blast in this class. I mean, I had all kinds of plans. I had customizations I wanted to do to the AR, and I wanted to do some laser engraving. And this was a good class in the aspect that I could go through an AR and I could name every single part on an AR, word for word, and tell you what it's for. That's what I did get out of the class. And I became very knowledgeable on what not to do, because I built ARs before and I found there's a lot of things I did not do right, where now I can do them right. So that's one thing this class will do, is they make sure you do this by the book to the T and doing it right. So that's very important when you're doing this kind of work on firearms, because you want to make sure they're perfect. And I think that's why there's some people that built firearms that malfunction on them in the middle of a shooting range, or when they're competition shooting, or when they're even hunting. So you can't afford to have something malfunction on you or have something go wrong. So you get to learn how to do examinations. You get to write go gauges through it. You're going to go through and you're going to test your fire pen protrusion. You're going to run all these tests. You're going to run barrels. You're going to be writing down the numbers. Learn about all these numbers and what they mean. So that is one big thing that I found in this class. The downfall in this class is the exams I took. And it was a newer class that came in, were not fun to go through. They were some of the hardest exams, and I had a really hard time with the exams, and it seemed like even though I got answers right, they were wrong, because I didn't get them right. Not all the answers were multiple choice. You had to fill in the blank. So a good example is if you put a word in, even though it's right, it's still wrong because it's not what the school wanted you to put in. So that made it very tricky and very hard, but I think the school worked out a lot of those bugs and they fixed a lot of those problems. There's other things that I wish the class would do more. So it's like one of the worksheets I did. They're sitting there saying, okay, this is what you got to do. Here's the book. It's an online book you got to go through. But it's like trying to read blueprints on the ballistics, and you have to write all those numbers in. You have to figure out what they mean. So it would be nice if there was like a video that would explain all the stuff and how to go to it and what examples are, and give you like an example video on how to do this. So that way you would be able to go and do a lot easier. In fact, I did very poorly on that because I felt like it didn't get explained. I believe they're also working the bugs out on that as well. So that's really nice because I've been talking to them. And otherwise, I mean, I got to build myself a nice AR-10, California compliant, obviously. So that way it does look like it's a deformed AR, but otherwise I'm pretty happy with it. I'm probably going to use it for deer hunting. And you can put a few modifications on what you want to put on as long as they're legal. But everything I did is legal. I mean, I did nothing illegal. I would have liked to have done more to it. I would have liked to have gone more into it. So things I'd like to see this class go more into. I think it would have been awesome if this class would have an iodizing and also a gold plating class. I think that'd be really awesome. They do have an advanced ballistics. I wish there was a black powder class where they actually specifically go into black powder. So there's other things I wish this school would do more of, which I'm sure down the road they may consider it. There is more classes down the road that I'm planning on taking. I did decide I'm going to go to school to get my associate's degree in this school. So it's going to take about another 5 to 8 months to get done with this. Then I'm also considering on going back to get my BA degree in fine arts. And maybe if the school is up for it, maybe I may apply for a position and be an instructor. With this, I may also consider going to Susanville and taking more classes in Susanville to be more efficient in my gunsmithing, because they have certificate programs I can get into. And this would make me more proficient as a gunsmith and with my profession. So this is going to be a very expensive field to get into, but I believe I can do it. And maybe this would be something I could do down the road. So have a great day and happy shooting and be safe.